Captain Rylan Hayes stood on the bridge of the spaceship Endeavour, staring out at the purple clouds surrounding the planet Varela. It was a strange world, unlike anything he had seen before. The clouds swirled with colors that seemed almost alive, and the air below was thick with the hum of unknown creatures. His mission was clear. The Earth Union wanted to build peace with the Virulans, a proud alien race ruled by a queen and her family. Rylan was nervous. He had heard many stories about Virula, how the people were distant and cautious of outsiders, especially human men. The Virulan society was matriarchal, meaning women led everything. Men were rare and often not trusted. Rylan knew this could be dangerous. As the Endeavour landed on the surface, a cold wind greeted the crew. The planet's capital city was a mixture of shining towers and ancient stone buildings. Virulans were tall, slender, and had skin that shimmered softly in the dim light. Their eyes were large and deep, reflecting wisdom and age. But despite their beauty, the people kept their distance from the humans. Rylan and his team were met by a group of Virulan guards who escorted them to the palace. The Queen Solari awaited them. Her face was serious and proud. She spoke in a calm voice, welcoming the humans, but making it clear she had no interest in friendship, only peace. The humans respected her, but the tension was heavy. Days passed. As the humans tried to learn more about Varela, Rylan often wandered alone, curious about this new world. He liked to visit the marketplaces where Virulans sold strange fruits and tools. He noticed many young Virulan women watched him with curiosity, but quickly looked away when he met their gaze. One afternoon, as Rylan walked near the cliffs outside the city, a sudden storm began. The sky darkened and strong winds blew. The rain was heavy and cold. Rylan heard a scream. Following the sound, he found a group of Virulan children trapped near the edge of the cliff. The ground was slippery and dangerous. Without hesitation, Rylan ran to them. One by one, he helped them back to safety, shielding them from the harsh wind. As the storm passed, a young woman approached him. She was different from the others. Skin had a soft glow, and her eyes held a mix of fear and relief. "Thank you," she said softly. "I am Thalira." Rylan was surprised. "You're the princess?" She nodded, a small smile touching her lips. "I came here to see if you were truly as brave as the stories say." Rylan felt a strange warmth. Thalira was curious and kind, unlike anyone he had met on Varela. They talked for a while, sharing stories about their worlds. But their moment was short. Suddenly, Virulan guards arrived, led by a tall man with cold eyes. "Princess Thalira, you are to return immediately." Thalira hesitated but followed. Before leaving, she looked at Rylan and said, "I will see you again." Back at the palace, news of Rylan's rescue of the children and meeting the princess spread quickly. Some Virulans praised his courage. Others whispered of danger and disrespect. One evening, Rylan was called to the queen's chambers. Queen Solari looked at him with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "You saved my daughter," she said, "yet you are an outsider." "Should we trust you, Rylan?" met her gaze firmly. "Because I believe in peace and honor. I did what anyone should do, help those in danger." The queen studied him for a long moment. "You will be watched. Do not disappoint me." As Rylan left, he wondered what future awaited him on Varela. But one thing was clear, his life was about to change forever, because the princess had chosen to see something special in a human. The grand hall of the Virulan palace was cold and silent as Captain Rylan Hayes stood among the gathered nobles. His heart beat fast, but he held his head high. The eyes of the court were fixed on him, many filled with suspicion, some with anger. "Princess?" Thalira stood beside him, her gaze steady and proud. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice was clear when she spoke. "This man is no threat," she said. "He is my friend." The queen, Solari, sat on her throne with a hard expression. She raised her hand, and the room fell silent. "You dare defy tradition, Thalira?" the queen asked coldly. "A human male is no suitable companion for a Virulan princess. This court will not tolerate such disrespect." The crowd murmured, and several nobles nodded in agreement. For centuries, the Virelon people had kept themselves pure, refusing alliances with other species. Humans, especially males, were seen as wild, unpredictable, and dangerous. Thalira took a step forward. I do not seek a political alliance. Speak only for my heart. Captain Hayes has saved many lives, including mine. He treats me as an equal, not a possession. Ryland's eyes met Thalira's. He felt a surge of gratitude and courage. Your Highness, I do not expect your approval, but I promise to honor and protect you no matter the cost. The Queen's face hardened further. Then you leave. You will depart Varela at dawn and never return. Thalira's eyes widened. Mother, please. No, the Queen said firmly. This decision is final. That night, Ryland sat alone on the balcony of the human embassy. The stars twinkled above, but his thoughts were heavy. He wondered if this was the end of his journey on Varela. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Suddenly a soft voice called from behind him, Captain Hayes. He turned. To see Thalira standing in the moonlight, her face serious but hopeful. I will not let this end, she said. Meet me tomorrow night at the old gardens outside the city. We will speak freely, Ryland nodded. I will be there. The next evening, Ryland made his way to the gardens. The air was cool and fragrant with strange flowers. Thalira waited by a marble fountain, her eyes shining in the darkness. They talked for hours. Thalira asked about Earth, the humans, and the battles Ryland had fought. Ryland shared stories of his childhood, his dreams, and the friends he had lost. They laughed softly and listened carefully. You see me as a human? It's not just a soldier, Ryland said quietly. And I see you as more than a stranger, Thalira replied. You have a kindness that is rare here. Their hands brushed lightly, and a warm feeling spread through them both. But danger was never far away. Unknown to them, a group of virulent nobles watched from the shadows, anger burning in their eyes. They whispered of betrayal and vowed to end this forbidden bond. Days passed and tension grew. Ryland was followed by palace guards, his every move watched. But Thalira found ways to meet him, sometimes in secret tunnels beneath the palace, other times in hidden rooms filled with ancient books. One afternoon, while they shared a quiet moment reading a poem from Earth, the palace alarm sounded. Guards rushed through the halls, shouting orders. Attack! One yelled. The human embassy is under siege. Ryland's heart pounded. He grabbed Thalira's hand. We need to get you to safety. They ran through winding corridors, dodging frightened servants and angry soldiers. Outside, chaos erupted. Varellan extremists had launched a surprise attack on the embassy grounds, seeking to drive humans away forever. Ryland fought bravely, protecting the embassy guards and civilians. Alira stood nearby, calling for help and trying to calm the frightened people. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck. Ryland sighed, fell to the ground, blood spreading across his uniform. Ryland, Thalira cried, kneeling beside him. With trembling hands, she pressed her palm over his wound. Her skin glowed softly, rare healing ability possessed by her family. The pain eased and Ryland opened his eyes. Stay with me, she whispered. The attackers retreated as quickly as they had come, but the damage was done. The embassy was in ruins. The trust between the humans and Virelons was shaken. In the days that followed, Ryland remained weak but alive, cared for by Thalira. Their bond deepened as they shared quiet moments amid the chaos. One evening, the Queen visited the hospital chamber secretly. She watched as her daughter gently tended to the human who had risked everything for her. The Queen's heart softened, but her duty remained. The traditions of Varela were strong and the people feared change. I will not stop you, Thalira, she said quietly. But you must understand the cost of your choice. Thalira nodded. The story of the forbidden friendship spread through the city. Some citizens admired the princess's courage while others plotted against her. Ryland and Thalira knew their time was short. The Senate had voted to ban humans from the capital. Ryland was ordered to leave within 3 days. That night, beneath the stars, Thalira made a decision. Rylan, she said softly, I do not want to lose you. He took her hands in his. And stay with me. We will find a way. With determination in her eyes, Thalira whispered words that would change everything. I want to marry you. The great hall was filled with murmurs and whispers. The news had spread quickly. Princess Thalira had asked to marry Captain Rylan Hayes, a human. It was a shock to the kingdom, and many were not ready to accept it. Queen Sailari sat on her throne, her face a mask of calm, but her eyes held stormy thoughts. She looked at her daughter, and then at Rylan, who stood with quiet strength beside her. Thalira. The queen said softly but firmly, You understand what you are asking. This is not a simple choice. Our people have lived by tradition for thousands of years. To marry a human is to risk everything. Thalira met her mother's gaze without fear. I know, mother, but I believe love can build bridges where fear only creates walls. Rylan stepped forward. Your Majesty, I do not ask for your approval out of respect for your people, but I swear to protect and honor your daughter. I will never be a threat to Varela. The court was silent. Some nobles whispered angrily. Others looked thoughtful. Suddenly a stern voice rang out. This union is impossible, shouted Lord Karen, a powerful noble who had opposed the humans from the start. It is a betrayal of our heritage and a danger to our future. Several others joined him, calling for the queen to stop the marriage. The queen raised her hand again, demanding, Silence. This is a matter of the heart and of duty. I must think carefully before I make a decision. The room emptied slowly, leaving Thalira and Rylan alone with the queen. That night, the queen walked quietly through the palace gardens. The moonlight cast long shadows, and the air was filled with the scent of strange flowers. She remembered her own youth, a time when she had loved a traveler from another world. It had been a secret, a forbidden dream she never dared to follow. Fear and duty had kept her bound to the throne. Now, watching her daughter's brave choice, she felt a mixture of pride and sorrow. The next morning, the queen called Thalira to her chambers. My daughter, she said softly, love is powerful, but so is tradition. You must be prepared to face the cost of your choice. Thalira nodded. I am ready, mother. Meanwhile, Rylan prepared for the worst. The Senate had voted to ban humans from the capital. His time on Varela was running out. As the day of his departure approached, Thalira found a moment alone. With him, Rylan, she said, I cannot imagine a future without you. Rylan took her hands gently. Then we will create a new future. Together. Their moment was broken by the sudden arrival of palace guards, Captain Hayes. A guard said, The queen requests your presence immediately. Rylan followed. The guard to the royal assembly hall. Inside, the queen stood before the gathered nobles, her expression serious. Captain Hayes, she began, you have shown courage and honor, but the laws of Varela are clear. You must leave the capital by dawn. Rylan bowed his head. I accept your judgment, your majesty. The queen's eyes softened. But no, your actions have changed many hearts. As Rylan turned to leave, Thalira stepped forward boldly. I will not let you go, she declared. I will stand by the man I love, no matter the cost. The room fell silent. The queen looked at her daughter with a mixture of surprise and respect. You leave me no choice, she said slowly. If you wish to be together, Captain Hayes, you must prove your worth. The queen's challenge was clear. Rylan was to undertake a dangerous journey to the sacred cliffs of Eldarin. There he must retrieve the flame flower, a symbol of courage and loyalty. No human had ever attempted the trial. Rylan nodded. I accept. Thalira smiled, hope shining in her eyes. The next morning, Rylan prepared for his journey. The palace was alive with whispers and prayers. Some believed he would fail. Others secretly hoped he would succeed. Thalira watched from the palace windows, her heart pounding with hope and fear as Rylan stepped out into the rising sun. She whispered to herself, Come back to me, my human husband. The early morning sun cast long shadows over the rugged land of Varela, as Captain Rylan Hayes prepared for the journey the Queen had demanded. The trial to retrieve the flame flower from the sacred cliffs of Veldarin was no simple task. It was a challenge that had tested the bravest virulent suitors for generations. And now it would test a human. Rylan adjusted his gear, feeling the weight of his responsibility more than ever. This was not just about love anymore. It was about honor, respect, proving that humanity could stand alongside the proud Virulon people. As he stepped beyond the palace gates, the crowd that had gathered watched in silence. Some faces showed doubt, others hope. Thalira stood among them, her eyes shining with faith. Rylan's first steps took him through dense forests filled with strange sounds and colors. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and unfamiliar flowers. He moved carefully, remembering the stories of the dangers that awaited. The path to Veldarin was steep and narrow. Many before him had fallen or turned back. But Rylan's mind was steady. He thought of Thalira's smile, her courage. In the future they could build together. The first challenge came quickly. As Rylan climbed a rocky slope, the ground gave way beneath his feet. He tumbled down, hitting his shoulder hard on a jagged stone. Pain surged, but he forced himself up. The wound was deep, and blood stained his sleeve. He wrapped a strip of cloth tightly around it and pressed on further along. A sudden roar filled the air. Rylan froze as a large creature emerged from the shadows, a native beast with sharp claws and glowing eyes, growled low and moved closer. Rylan's heart raced. He remembered his training and slowly reached for his knife. The creature lunged, but Rylan dodged, narrowly avoiding its claws. He scrambled up a nearby tree, holding his breath as the beast circled below. After what felt like hours, the creature lost interest and disappeared into the forest, breathing heavily. Rylan climbed down and continued, his determination stronger than pain or fear. As night fell, the temperature dropped sharply. Rylan built a small fire and huddled close, tending to his shoulder. He thought of Thalira, wondering how she was faring without him. In the darkness, shadows moved silently. A figure stepped into the firelighter, Virulon commoner. A woman named Lyra, whom Rylan had once helped during the storm months ago. "You should not be here," she whispered. "This path is dangerous for one so weak." Rylan looked at her. "Gratefully, I am on a mission. I must reach the cliffs." Lyra nodded. "Then come with me. I know a safer way." Trusting her, Rylan followed through winding paths hidden beneath thick vines. Along the way, they shared stories of Virella's past, its people, and the hope for peace. Lyra's kindness gave Rylan renewed strength. Together, they moved faster and more safely. After days of travel, the cliffs of Veldarin rose before them, towering, majestic, and bathed in golden light. At the top, the flame flower bloomed a radiant, fiery plant said to carry the spirit of Virella itself. It was beautiful and rare. Growing only in this sacred place, Rylan reached out carefully and plucked the flower, feeling a surge of pride and relief. But the journey was not over. On the way down, they were ambushed by Lord Karan and his guards. He sneered at Rylan. "You think you can win by stealing our sacred flower? You are an outsider, unworthy." Rylan stood firm, though weakened. "I do not steal. I prove my respect for your people." A fierce battle followed. Rylan fought with all his remaining strength. Lyra and nearby villagers came to help, turning the tide. Lord Karan fled. Defeated but vowing revenge, Rylan returned to the palace, exhausted and injured. The crowd gathered as he entered, many shocked to see him alive. Thalira ran to his side, tears of joy in her eyes. Queen Solari watched quietly. She saw the people's support for Rylan and realized the depth of his courage and the love between him and her daughter. When Rylan collapsed at the queen's feet, still holding the flame flower, she extended her hand and helped him rise. "You have passed the test," she said softly. The queen's acceptance was more than a victory, it was a promise of a new future. The great hall of the Virulon Palace was filled with light and soft music. For the first time in many moons, the people gathered not in anger or fear, but in hope and celebration. Banners of the Virilan kingdom fluttered alongside the blue and green flags of Earth. The union of two worlds was about to be made official. Princess Thalira stood tall, her gown shimmering softly in the warm light. Beside her stood Captain Rylan Hayes, wearing a simple but proud suit of Earth design. Their hands were gently clasped, and their eyes spoke of a journey that had tested every part of their hearts. Queen Sailari sat upon her throne, her face calm but proud. The years of doubt and fear had slowly melted into acceptance and understanding. Today was a new beginning. The chamber fell silent as the High Priestess stepped forward. Her voice was steady and clear as she spoke of ancient traditions, the strength of love, and the courage to change. When the moment came for the Queen to speak, all eyes turned to her. Salari rose gracefully. Her voice carried authority and warmth as she said, "Who is the man beside my daughter?" A hush fell over the crowd. Thalira smiled and looked into Rylan's eyes. "He is my human husband." The words echoed through the hall, breaking centuries of silence. Some gasped, some smiled, but all felt the weight of change. The Queen's voice softened. "For generations, Varela has lived by traditions that kept our people safe and strong. But the world beyond our skies has changed. We must learn to open our hearts and minds." She turned to Rylan. "You have shown courage, honor, and love. Today you are not just a human visitor, you are family." Rylan bowed deeply, feeling the acceptance wash over him like a warm tide. The ceremony began with the joining of hands. The High Priestess placed a glowing ring, forged from both Virilan crystal and earth metal, on Thalira's finger. Then, she placed a matching ring on Rylan's hand. The ring symbolized the bond between two worlds and two hearts. Vows were exchanged, promises to protect, respect, and cherish each other. The crowd watched, moved by the sincerity and strength of their words. As the ceremony ended, music filled the chamber once more. Thalira and Rylan led the dance, their smiles radiant. Outside the palace, citizens cheered and waved flags. The city streets were alive with celebration. Children played games inspired by both human and Virilan traditions. News of the union spread quickly across Virila and Earth. It was a symbol of hope, a proof that despite differences in species and culture, love could build bridges stronger than fear or prejudice. In the days that followed, Rylan and Thalira met with leaders from both worlds. They planned a future of cooperation, sharing knowledge, culture, and resources. Rylan spoke at a gathering of humans and Virilans, his voice calm but passionate. "We are stronger together," he said. "Our differences make us unique, but our shared dreams bring us together. This is just the beginning of a new era." Thalira stood beside him, proud and hopeful. One quiet evening, after the celebrations had died down, Rylan and Thalira stood on the palace balcony, looking at the stars. Rylan took her hand gently. "I never imagined my life would bring me here." Thalira smiled. "Neither did I, but I am glad it did." They stood in comfortable silence, knowing their journey had only just begun. The Queen joined them, her presence calm and steady. "You have changed my world," she said, quietly, "and I am proud of you both." Rylan and Thalira looked at her, grateful for her acceptance. The future was uncertain, but together they were ready. And so, the human and the Virilan princess began a new chapter, not just for themselves, but for two worlds reaching toward peace, understanding, and a shared destiny. The story of love that crossed stars would be told for generations, a tale of courage, hope, and the power of a human heart.